intense international efforts to end the war. Houthi leaders fly to Saudi Arabia for the first Hajj since 2015. African migrants in Yemen continue to face dire humanitarian situation. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Angel Zazi. The joint forces thwarted movements of the Houthi militia targeting the security and safety of international navigation in the Red Sea. The military media reported that the inspection units of the joint forces in Hodeidah Axis monitored movements and attempts to establish sites for the Houthi militia, and they were quickly dealt with. The Houthi militia pushed hundreds of fighters to Taiz Governorate. Local sources said that hundreds of Houthi fighters arrived in the city of Ib on their way to El Hawban area in Taiz Governorate in a new Houthi escalation. This report has more.
While the eyes of the Yemenis and the world are turning toward the option of peace dialogue and efforts to end the devastating war, the Houthi militia is still mobilizing thousands of fighters to Ib Governorate in preparation for a new war. The Houthi militia is well aware that the option of peace and dialogue has become the demand of the Yemenis and the whole world, and the military solution is no longer an available option, and that the war is about to end. The time has come to put aside weapons and embark on a peaceful settlement that will restore Yemen's balance and stability. Despite the strenuous efforts that are being made internally, regionally, and internationally to silence the barrels of guns and to pave the ground for Yemeni dialogue, the Houthi militia still mobilizes thousands of armed elements. Acknowledgement of mobilization came from the Houthi leader Nasr ad-Din Amir, claiming that more than 10,000 fighters organized a military march from the Mar Governorate to Ib Governorate. This is an indication of the militia's intention to transfer its gunmen to the neighboring governorates of Taiz and Adalia to engage in a new round of fighting. Observers consider the Houthi mobilization either a pre-ambition of any dialogue with the aim of achieving field gains at the expense of the Yemeni blood, or an attempt to impose new impossible conditions that undermine the hope of peace and return the situation to square one. In addition to its armed mobilization, the militia is still broadcasting a warlike discourse, considering calls for peace as a form of surrender, in addition to the continuous threats to return missiles and drones unless everyone complies with its conditions.
The United Nations announced the killing and wounding of 10 civilians in Hodeidah as a result of landmines and explosives last May. According to a report, 4 civilians were killed and 6 others injured during last May. The Houthi militia is the only party involved in planting mines in Yemen, and according to official and human rights reports, the militia has planted more than 2 million mines of various shapes and sizes in vast areas in Yemen.
أبي مات بشارع 40 دحين أنا أشقى على أسرتي مع باقي اللي أنا أصرف عليهم كل شيء. أنا اسمي أنس وصيب سيف، عمري 12 سنة. أنا أشتغل بورشة حديد من الساعة 7 للساعة 6. أحيانا أسرع، أحيانا أقص، أحيانا أرنق، أحيانا أنقش، أي حاجة أنا أعمل. لا الساعة لما تدين الساعة 6 أوقف. أنا وقفت الدراسة علشان ما فيش أحد يشقى على أسرتي. أدرس إخواني الباقي منهم 4 وأنا الخامس. أحلم إني أفتح ورشة أبي وأشقى على أسرتي وأندي لهم مصاري. وأدرس إخوتي لاقى الجامعات وأطبخ أي شيء.
The Houthi militia has turned the Firdaus Mosque in the capital Sana'a into a center for recruitment of children under 14 years old. Human rights sources confirmed that the Houthi militia is conducting continuous military training for children in Al Firdaus Mosque. A young man was killed by gunmen in Ib Governorate, according to local sources. The sources said the young man was shot dead by gunmen who were exchanging fire in a dispute over lands in a village of Ib countryside. Since the Houthi militia took control of Ib Governorate in late 2014, the governorate has been witnessing permanent armed conflicts over land, which have left hundreds dead and wounded. After more than 8 years of suspension, the first flight since 2016 took off from Sana'a Airport, which is under the control of the Houthis, carrying pilgrims, and arrived at King Abdulaziz International Airport in Jeddah. More is in the following report.
The Saudi Ministry of Hajj and Umrah has announced that it would facilitate the arrival of Yemeni pilgrims this year from Sana'a International Airport to King Abdulaziz International Airport in Jeddah. It comes as part of the Saudi government's eagerness to facilitate pilgrims' trips and ensure the safety of visitors, as well as support and alleviate the suffering of Yemenis, according to the minister's statement, which was carried by the Saudi press agency. Yemen's national carrier Yemeniya Airways launched on June 17 its first flight to transport pilgrims from Sana'a International Airport to Saudi Arabia to perform Hajj. Yemeni Information Minister said the decision to launch flights to Jeddah and Medina airports was made upon the directives of the Yemeni Presidential Leadership Council and with the cooperation of Saudi Arabia. Mohsen Haidara, the commercial director of Yemeniya Airways, said that all necessary measures were taken to start the pilgrims' flights in coordination with the Arab coalition led by Saudi Arabia. A delegation of prominent Houthi leaders traveled to Saudi Arabia on Monday to take part in the Hajj pilgrimage, the first visit of its kind since the Yemen war broke out in 2015. The Houthi leaders departed from the airport in Yemen's capital Sana'a, which they captured from the internationally recognized government in 2014, for the Saudi city of Jeddah, from where they will travel to Mecca for the annual Islamic pilgrimage. The delegation was sent by the Houthi militia's Ministry of Guidance and Hajj and Umrah Affairs. The delegation's departure was the latest sign of progress in talks between the Houthis and Riyadh. The Iran-backed rebel group has fought Saudi-led forces supporting the internationally recognized Yemeni government for 8 years. The Houthi delegation traveled as part of a second group of Yemenis undertaking the Hajj, which takes place around the Islamic Eid al-Adha holiday that is due to start on the evening of 26 June and ends on the 1st of July.
The United Nations revealed widespread violations against migrants from the Horn of Africa by smugglers in Yemen and Ethiopia. Every month, about 5,000 immigrants arrive in Yemen, which hosts tens of thousands despite the war. This report has more.
African migrants trapped in Yemen suffer from the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. They are without food or shelter and unable to go to their destination or return back to their home country. One of the migrants said that some suffer from severe mental disorders as a result of the harsh conditions they experience.
We are looking for a source of income. We came from Iran to Marib. There is no food and many suffer from mental illness.
Yemeni cities are full of thousands of African immigrants who live in harsh and tragic conditions and face mental illness. They suffer from many challenges such as hunger, disease, and lack of health care.
We have no food and no money. People are losing their mind. We want to go back to our country. There is no food, water, or shelter. We need money and we want to go back to Ethiopia.
The displacement of the International Organization for Migration in Yemen recorded the arrival of more than 13,000 migrants to Yemen within a month. It recorded 11,000 immigrants in May, with the possibility that the number of immigrants would reach 165,000. With the advent of the end of the current year, an increase of more than 80% over last year, which necessitates the international community and the Organization for Migration to take measures to protect African migrants and grant them legal paths to reach their destination or secure their return to their country of origin.
Coming next in the news. Yemen's loaded artifacts are auctioned off in the UK and the United States. Welcome back. The second annual Yemeni Media Conference, organized virtually by the Media Freedoms Observatory, has been launched. The conference will last for 5 days, and this year more than 200 male and female journalists from various Yemeni governorates will meet, as well as speakers and participants from the region and around the globe. Residents of the city of Damt, north of Al Daraa Governorate, complained about the levies imposed by the Houthi militia. Local residents said the militia earns a lot of money from the directorate's revenues at a time when piles of waste cause the spread disease carrying mosquitoes. Private sources revealed that the Houthi militia threatened merchants in its areas of control. The sources confirmed that the Houthi militia threatened importing merchants to confiscate their money, stop their commercial activities, and withdraw all licenses from them. The Food and Agriculture Organization warned against the dangers of floods expected during the next week. In its early warning, The organization said there is a risk of flooding with heavy rains expected in the highlands by the end of this month. More is in the following report.
Yemen, already one of the world's most water-stressed countries, has faced exacerbated water shortages due to the Saudi-led conflict, combined with the effects of climate change. Critical infrastructure has been damaged by the fighting, while rising temperatures and unpredictable precipitation patterns have further reduced water supply, according to experts and aid groups. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations states that Yemen's groundwater is being depleted at twice the rate of replacement, warning that the country could completely run out of groundwater within 2 decades. The dire mix of war and climate change has only aggravated the country's water despairs. Fighting has ravaged critical infrastructure, while rising temperatures and varying precipitation has further hit supply. In Yemen, children endure daily struggles to fetch water, walking long distances and waiting in queues, hoping to fill their jerry cans in time for school. They wake up every morning and race after water. In Taiz, one of the worst-hit cities, nearly half of the population, or about 14.5 million people, lack access to safe drinking water. Yemen's piped water network only serves less than 30% of the population, forcing millions to rely on private companies or unsafe wells, exacerbating the water crisis. Children in particular bear the brunt of the water scarcity, being forced to assist their families in collecting water instead of attending schools. The scarcity of water has dire consequences, as demonstrated by incidents like the reported stabbing of a girl over access to a water tank in the capital Sana'a and a fatal accident involving a water truck in Taiz. The crisis extends beyond availability, incorporating poor quality, limited accessibility and affordability, exacerbating water and food insecurity in Yemen. Even if the conflict were to end, Yemen's water scarcity would persist, indicating that the issue requires long-term solutions beyond the resolution of the conflict.
Yemeni antiquities are being smuggled and sold around the world. A Yemeni researcher specializing in antiquities revealed that an ancient statue was offered for sale at an auction in New York at the end of this month. He explained that the statue is probably the head of a man from the 3rd century and it will be displayed on June 30. This report has more.
The Yemeni embassy in the United Kingdom managed to bring back 4 Yemeni artifacts, which were seized by the British police. The embassy said that it succeeded in recovering 4 artifacts that were kept temporarily in the British Museum until the Yemeni government receives them at a later time. A Yemeni researcher specialized in antiquities revealed earlier that an ancient statue from Qadban was offered for sale at the famous Sotheby auction in New York, US, at the end of this month. Extensive investigations and rising demand to return cultural artifacts to their countries of origin have resulted in a number of high-profile repatriation projects in recent years. After the Houthi coup in 2014, the archaeological sites were subjected to systematic looting and smuggling. According to an official, Houthi militia smuggled and hid more than 14,000 rare Yemeni manuscripts and hundreds of artifacts. As a result of the war, most of the nation's infrastructure has been damaged. According to the National Museum of Asian Art, the country has experienced heavy looting and destruction of its cultural heritage. U.S. officials have been pressing swiftly to seize any commodities from Yemen that are found to have entered the nation illegally because of the civil war there. However, Yemen's war has hampered the established repatriation process. Yemeni antiquities have been subjected to a process of looting and smuggling out of the country, especially in recent years, under the control of the Houthis, and they were sold in countries such as the United States of America, the UK, and France.
Here is a reminder of the main headlines. Houthis escalate in Eb governorate amid intense international efforts to end the war. Houthi leaders fly to Saudi Arabia for the first Hajj since 2015. African migrants in Yemen continue to face dire humanitarian situation. This is the end of the news. It was Angel Zazi. Thank you for watching.